So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Bashar's formula of acting on your highest excitement. For those who don't know, Bashar is this very enthusiastic ET being channeled by Darilanka for the last 30 years or so, and he has endlessly repeated these formulas all those years, and he does it like 10 times every session. Because people seem to never learn. They always ask questions that obviously will lead to this response. Like they ask, how can I do this? How can I best help with that? And the answer is always the same. And he keeps repeating it. So if you have watched Bashar, you're probably a bit tired of hearing it. But I'm going to have to repeat it once in this video, just for people who haven't heard it. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits according to him. According to Bashar, not necessarily my own personal experience with the benefits of this formula, but what he says, and then I will compare it to my experience with it. So what he says is that if you follow this formula of acting on your excitement, it will provide you with every kind of support and abundance and information that you would need to continue on your path. And it's like a driving engine in your life that moves you forward. And it also acts like an organizing principle that shows you what to act on next and what is the right timing. And it also is the path of least resistance, so it makes your life path as smooth as possible. And it connects you with all other expressions of your excitement, no matter what form they might come in. Which means that you might be excited about something for a while, but that will lead to maybe that might take a completely new expression in another turn of your life, and you will suddenly walk down a completely different path, but the excitement will be the same. So the excitement itself is the key, not what expression it takes. It could be painting for 2 years, and then it could be yoga for the next 5 years, So anyway, and it also is like a reflecting mirror that reveals your negative belief, and it sort of shakes up or shakes loose in you all this negative stuff that is buried in your subconscious, and it helped process it out as you go along this path, and it leaves nothing relevant out of your life that you have decided to experience. So it is, according to him, the core formula how to live your life, and you don't need anything else if you understand this formula. So what is this magic formula? For those who don't know, and those who haven't heard Bashar before, I can repeat it shortly before I talk about my experience with following this formula. So it basically is a 3-part formula, and it starts with you should take action on anything that contains your highest excitement in any given moment. And that goes for very small details in your life to the big life decisions. So if you go grocery shopping, you should, and you have to decide what you're going to have for dinner. You should, according to this formula, you should go with what excites you, what ingredients, what dish you want at that moment. And if in bigger decisions, the same applies. And you should act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, which means you should use whatever abilities and talents you have to do that, and you should take it as far as you can within reasonable limits and with integrity. That means you shouldn't just go completely crazy, and if you're excited about getting rich, you shouldn't just rob people on the street because, hey, Bashar told me I'm excited about getting your money, so here, give me your wallet. It's not like that. It doesn't work. You have to do it with integrity, and that's important too. And the most important, maybe, but a part that people seem to forget many times, is that you should act on your excitement with absolutely no insistence or assumptions about outcomes. Which means if you're excited about something, like a new career path or something, and you act upon it, you shouldn't, or if you have assumptions or insistences on how it's supposed to turn out, you might be limiting yourself to that instead of something even more exciting. So the idea is to not be attached to outcomes, because that will then you're not really doing it because it's exciting. You're doing it because you want something out of it, and that is not true excitement. So the only way to know that it's really exciting for you is that you're doing it without any attachment to any outcome, and you're doing it because you want something back, like money or some kind of reward or fame or glory. It could be anything, but that's a really important part, because if you're really excited about something you're working on, then you don't really care about anything else. You're actually living, you're taken into the moment, and you're living in the moment. You don't even think about it, and time flies by really quickly because you're so focused and absorbed by this thing you're excited about. And that is, it doesn't have to be like that all the time. I mean, that's not what it means. But that is like a key component and a symptom of that you're really doing something that excites you, that you forget time and place, and you don't care about whatever comes out of it, because you just enjoy doing it. So that is the formula. Act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, with zero insistence and assumptions about what it will lead to. So my experience with this formula is that I did that from a pretty young age without knowing about Bashar or having any exposure to those kind of teachings at all. I just naturally felt like I had no other choice. I mean, it felt like selling out if I did something that just because I was scared of not getting a career or a job, or no, many people, they will choose a life path, they will choose certain education because their parents are pressuring them, or they feel, maybe even not consciously pressuring, but just they feel pressured to do that, and it's not really what excites them, but they do it anyway because it's the sensible thing to do. It will lead to, they're doing it because in the end they will get a good job, so they are attached to a certain outcome. But in reality they have no clue what life will bring the next, education can take 5 years, and you have no clue what life will bring in those 5 years. But so the thing is, you cannot plan life like that, because anything could happen. So, and you're doing something that you don't even like, just because maybe in 5 years you have a job that makes you money that you don't like also. So it makes little sense to live like that, because you're not really happy. You're just doing it on a fear-based kind of trip, because you think if you don't do that you will end up in a bad way. So for me personally, from a very young age, I'd always acted on my excitement because I felt like, as I said, I had no choice. I couldn't sell out just because society told me that that was not a good idea, or that's going to lead to, you're not going to get any job if you take that education, if you do this and that. And my experience is exactly like Bashar said. You will get resistance from people around you who doesn't understand that your choices, because they can't relate. But for me it always worked out, and one thing led to another. So for a long time, or for some time, I was very into yoga, for example, and took that to as far as I could take it, and then I suddenly just dropped it. Dropped by itself. I lost all interest in physical yoga, and I went more into meditation, and that's one example. And so the formula really worked for me for many years, and but I also had it doesn't come without challenges. He doesn't emphasize that as much as he maybe should. He says it sometimes, like, yes, there will be challenges, but because he makes it sound like if you just follow this, it's gonna be easy street. Your life is gonna be just smooth. And he says an ecstatic explosion of synchronicity, which sounds pretty amazing, and it has that you know, for me, I had a lot of synchronicity, and one thing led to another. I mean, definitely the formula works, but it was definitely not without pretty hard challenges on many occasions, and you know, so don't expect that. That's what I think many people, you know, maybe don't get from him, because he doesn't. He's like a salesperson a little bit. He's selling it without, you know, the fine print doesn't show that much. And the fine print is, yes, there could be massive challenges along the road, and there probably will be. But you will overcome them. But it can be a rough ride. And for me, he also says that in the end, when you follow this formula, you sort of suddenly find yourself in the now, like you permanently. For me, it's like basically a formula from taking you from low on the scale of consciousness up until the higher 500s. That's basically when you reach a level of consciousness where you're actually more or less in the know all the time. And that, for me, that worked. I mean, it took me up there in, you know, in a matter of some years, and it was many challenges on the way. But yes, he's right. It will take you into the now. And but then something happened that I wish somebody would ask him about, because for me, it was good for some years to be in that now, but sort of the excitements, I was always used to find some new excitement that I was following and acting upon. But then suddenly it was like all my excitements disappeared for after some years in a very good state, in a blissful state. And that was really unexpected. I mean, I didn't know how to handle it, because the formula doesn't say what to do then, you know. If you feel like you have no excitement to act on, you're just going by your life, and the bliss that you had from reaching the high level is sort of calmed down for a while, and you know, it's the peak experience has stabilized, and you know, or maybe you don't have, you know, a career that you wanted, and you're not excited about your job, and you don't really know what to do. So that for me was a big surprise, and I'm just talking about it because it can happen to anybody, I guess. I'm not saying it must happen to you, but for me it was like I was always so used to having a new project or new something to work on and being excited about, and suddenly I felt like I had no options. I mean, yes, I could always be, you know, act on what I wanted for dinner and these things, but there were nothing like bigger things that I really had a passion about for, and it took some years until I found back to it like I have now. Now I needed some time to just integrate, I don't know, but now I'm following in my excitement again, and that is making these videos, and having the YouTube channel and the blog, and also learning more about cryptocurrencies, and doing predictions, and all these things I'm doing. So thankfully, finally, I'm back to having something again. I mean, it was tough and kind of empty not having these things, and I mean, hopefully you will not have to go through if you follow this, and you know, every person is unique in its path, so it doesn't have to be like that. I'm just saying that I think Bashar doesn't emphasize enough that the challenges that will come, and you should know about that, because then you will be more mentally prepared, and instead of thinking that if you just follow this, you're an easy street and your life is going to be super simple and easy all the way, you know. So that is my my personal experience with Bashar's formula, and I would love to hear other people's experience with it. So just please leave a comment in the comment field below and tell me how you have experienced it yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.